Lionel Messi put himself up first. Obviously, there was a lot of debate about why Brazil would leave Neymar until one of the last kickers. Lionel Messi, obviously, wanted to lead by example. Do you think that shows, a strength of character from the Argentine captain to step up in that scenario? Because let's face it, that is pretty deflating to be 2-0 up against the Dutch, to have the stuffing knocked out of you, the last kick of the game, and then to look the better side again, you could argue in extra time, and then still have to go to the trauma of penalties.
Yeah, I think for me, JJ, it's just basically, as they say, well, it's funny saying, with great power comes great responsibility. And I feel when you look at the other way, I think Lionel Messi knows the responsibility that comes with it. And he knows he is the leader of this Argentinian side. And it's the same reason why you saw Van Dijk step up for the Dutch team first. So it's taking that responsibility as captain, as the person that's always going to be under the microscope, to set the standard, to set the way forward, so to speak. I think when you compare it to Neymar's situation, we're not looking at a fully fit Neymar. We're not looking at a fully confident Neymar, which is for me the reason why probably Neymar didn't step up, because I don't think he's fully at 100%, even though you'd still take a Neymar at 70%. But with what comes with it, he didn't step up. But I think for me, what Messi did is what's expected. He didn't want no questions asked. He wants to show the commitment. He wants to get the belief in his teammates, and he took that responsibility well and dispatched his penalty very well.
I think what we really saw is just a difference in preference. Neymar wants to be that focal point, but you're not guaranteed that when you go fifth. In the Olympics, he went fifth. Previous PK shootouts, he wants to go fifth, that deciding penalty kick, but you're not guaranteed that when you do that. Messi, his track record is going first. Going back to the World Cup in 2014 against this very Dutch national team, he went first. Copa America final against Brazil, he went first. Lionel Messi, he wants to go first, and I applaud that. I want my best PK takers to be in that front three, and then it leaves nothing to chance.
Exactly what I think. At the end, you need to give the confidence to the rest of the players. And I'm going to go back to 2005 Champions League final. First, for us, it was you need to try to give the players who got the most confidence first, and maybe one to keep it at the end. We kept Steven Gerrard to the fifth, and there was no chance. Thanks for us. That exactly. Everything went right in the way that we wanted or we expected, and we didn't need Steven Gerrard to score that penalty. But for Argentina was, let's score the first one, let's score the second one, and let's see how it goes. For Brazil, it was about that momentum, that Lautaro momentum, the one that you give all the importance. If Neymar scored the fifth one and make Brazil go through, it's like the big momentum. That's why Neymar is here. And sometimes we forget that you need to arrive to this fifth to this fifth penalty. You need to score the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth. So at the end, you need to give that confidence to the rest of the players, starting from the player who is with the most confidence. I think Argentina understood very well that Messi is the first one, scored the first one, give the confidence to the rest of the players, and go on from that one.
Lucho, Mike, I got a question for you, especially more so Lucho, because I know once he gets his manager's job, Mike, we might get assistant roles. We don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Lucho, you played the game. You've been in these type of situations. You've seen so much. You've seen how science has impacted the game now and technology. If you were a manager in that situation, let's just say World Cup final or World Cup semi-finals, and it goes to penalties, do you go and ask your players who are confident and who wants one? Or do you go, if you've been training every day in penalties, and you go with the ones who scored every penalty? What would be the path that you pick as a manager? Would you just ask for who's confident and wants it? Or would you go for the system that you've put in place already?
Yeah, great question. And I will go, listen, the other day there was a lot of people mentioning about Luis Enrique, because he picked the three that he was more confident about it, because they were very good on penalties, because they got more experience, and he left two open to see the players who have more confidence. As I know, that when you are on the field and you feel confident, you had a few good minutes or a good game, and you feel so confident, you grab the ball, and that helps you so much in these kinds of occasions. So I will go for the ones who got more confidence, the one who feel better on the field, the ones who is being involved into the game and have this feeling of confidence. I think that is very important, because it doesn't matter how much you've been practicing before. It doesn't matter if you had 100 penalties taken before on practice, because when you are in front of that kind of situation, it's totally different. The emotions, the feeling, your body, the atmosphere is totally different. You cannot replay that one on a training ground. You cannot replay that one on a friendly game. It's totally different. So that's why I think that if a player got confidence on the game, is feeling all right, let's go for that one. Because it doesn't matter if he's a striker, a midfielder, or even a keeper. If he's had a good game, I would go for it. Let's allow them to believe on that one, because the confidence is the one who is gonna make them have a good penalty.
Yeah, I agree with that, Lucho. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen teams go with designated PK takers and it's worked. I've seen it backfire, but I will always trust the manager who reaches out to his players, because things change. Within the 90 minutes, confidence change. It ebbs and flows, and the physical nature of the game. If you're a player who is a designated PK taker going into a knockout route game like this, there might be something, a tweak in a muscle. There might be a lack of confidence. Maybe you're exhausted, that now you're being depended on in a way you may not be able to deliver. And it's also down to the player to be honest with the manager. I will never, as a former player, I will never have any qualms with any teammate who comes up and says, hey, I'm just not feeling it. I'd much rather have someone who is going to step up, whether they make it or miss it. I'd much rather have them with that confidence of saying, I'm willing to live with the results no matter what happens.
Yeah, let me say something else. Sorry, JJ. Let me say that, for example, for my experience back in 2005, during the game, normally it was or Didi Hamann or Steven Gerrard, the one who were taking the penalties. And during the game, we had the last third penalty that it was during the game, and it was Xavi Alonso, the one in charge, not Steven Gerrard. That it was weird even for the players who were involved. And Xavi Alonso missed the penalty and put the penalty into the goal right after Dida saved the penalty against AC Milan. During the penalty shootout, he wasn't even in charge of one of the penalties, because Rafa Benitez understood that he was a very young player who went through a very tough situation, a very complicated situation, and didn't want to put him through to that again. So he wasn't even involved. He was the player who took the penalty during the game, but he wasn't involved into the 5 penalties who were in the shootout. So that shows that the mentality, the moment is very important when you have to go and take one of those penalties.
Interesting enough, penalty kicks is part of this rivalry between the Dutch and Argentina. And Argentina, the last few PK shootouts they've been involved in, it's been triumph for them. I want to take you back to Copa America. 3 players involved in that Copa America final in PK shootouts today. Lionel Messi steps up, dispatches it. Paredes makes his, and Lautaro Martinez. I think this was a big moment for him, a player whose World Cup hasn't really gone to script. He had to get that penalty kick and he had to dispatch it. I think his confidence, and Martinez is a player you can catch on Paramount Plus in Serie A action with Inter Milan, but he's a player who now I wonder how this PK shootout, that decisive penalty kick, how it impacts his confidence. Will he step up? Because if Argentina are going to win the World Cup, he will have to be more of a factor when he comes off the bench.